Thank you so much for having me, everyone. It's wonderful to meet you, and I thank you for sharing a little bit about your background and your interests. And I'm happy to say that I think I can touch on all of them. Public transportation and regional rail can benefit from what you're working on and what you're interested in. Today, I just wanted to talk with you a little bit as informal as possible, and feel free to just raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll leave time certainly afterwards to have any back and forth or questions that you would like to go over with me. So I wanted to share a little bit about my experiences, how I came to Metrolink. So it's a story of how, sometimes when you don't plan everything out, life happens to you. Also tell you a little bit about Metrolink and what its importance of regional rail in Southern California. And then offer a little bit, some thoughts about professional development and career opportunities in transportation and in particular rail. So as I said, I never planned, I'm a planner, but I never planned a career in transportation. I actually took 0 classes when I was here with Professor Giuliano. And now I am very grateful to have reconnected with her and METRANS and get to meet people like Vicki so that I can come to events like this and re-engage with the university. So sometimes we find ourselves by walking through different doors or looking for doors that might be open. We find ourselves walking through them and some very interesting things that we can work on. My background was in public policy, and I was going to go into a specialization in planning. Most of my elective classes were in planning. But I realized I was more of a generalist, and so I thought I would, the more general I could go, you can always narrow in, right? You can always narrow your focus, but if I had a solid basis in general public policy or general budgeting concepts or general transportation policy concepts, that I could always focus in on a particular mode or a particular issue if I had that broad background. And so during a career that I ended up having in Washington, D.C., after I left here and graduated with my MPP, I went back to D.C. to work at the Office of Management and Budget. So talk about broad, high level. I mean, that's like 30 to 40,000 foot. I figured that would be a great way to hover over federal policy and budget and then kind of figure out what was interesting from there. And I quickly realized that while that was an amazing experience, that I wanted to get a little bit closer to where the action was. So after spending a few years at OMB, I ended up going to the Department of Transportation and Federal Highway. Yes, I'm a highway person. My boss, Art Leahy, is trying to, he says, take all the highway out of me or something like that. And he's working on it. We're doing well, but it started my career at DOT there. And then really got to work on a variety of policy issues, finance issues. Actually had a great opportunity to do something to take advantage of, in an acting capacity to actually work in field operations, and went out and actually was based in Atlanta and was overseeing 13 FHWA division offices there, and that is unbelievable, the traffic that is going north and south out of Atlanta. It's really, folks here should see that they're definitely competing on the traffic front there. And then we had a family move, ended up coming back to Los Angeles and to Southern California with my family, and found myself here at Metrolink by a mutual colleague introduced me to Art Leahy, and I said, this is a legend, I've got to work for this, I have to work for a legend. And so I was really glad to have the opportunity to come here and really dive into Southern California and really LA. As much as maybe a CEO of transit, he's also an LA historian. And understanding, one of the things he's taught me so much about is understanding your place and where you are, your environment, your understanding the culture, he's still working on geography. I'm not good with directions, but understanding where you live and what the politics are and how important that is, especially in a career like transportation. It is really critical background and information for you to put into your decisions every day. So some days now I work for an operator. So I went from 30 to 40,000 foot level, and then now I am on the ground in operations, walking around in a shop and can see train wheels, and in the pit of where they're the maintenance facilities, working with customers. One of the most fun activities I recently had was working for the Women's March. We added service, and we knew there were going to be a lot of people coming in, and I spent half the day at Union Station helping people, the Metrolink customers, Metro customers, people who had walked, people who had Ubered, everybody who was coming to LA for the march, and helping them get on their way and helping people get to where they're going is such a rewarding experience. So that was something that really brought me very close to what we do every day. But I also do a lot of policy. Policy, worked on the budget, financing, and so I also get to, in addition to being on the ground and really with operations, I also have an opportunity to go back to where my real passion is a lot of the times, which is policy, and I have a chance to do that as well. So some days when I think back, okay, when I was in policy school, did I think that I was going to be writing a letter to a customer who got a parking ticket at one of our, okay, no, that's, didn't think I would do that. On the other hand, I now have the most tangible job that that I've had in my career that I can actually explain to my family. So for all the years I worked in DC, my family did not understand what I did. So you work for Federal Highway Administration. So you help build the highways, right? You do that. No. I just write the checks to the states who do the actual work. Oh, okay. That's not very exciting at all. So I never got invited to Career Day, for sure. Yeah, you work on the president's budget. That's really exciting. Is that big thing that they show a picture of once a year in February and then Congress just promptly ignores? Yeah, that's the one. That's what I do. Yeah, I work on that. So now I work on trains. So that is really exciting for someone who rode a lot of trains in my lifetime, but never had worked in rail. It's a very exciting field to go into, and mode of transportation, especially regional rail. Locomotives are a really cool thing. Equipment, technology now that exists. We just purchased 40 new state-of-the-art EPA Tier 4 certified locomotives that are going into service. The technology is amazing, and seeing that and what it can do for reducing emissions and just pure power. That's it's a fun thing to be out on the railroad. I have quickly embraced a little bit of the rail fanism there as well. So coming here to, when I decided to come here and leave my career in the Federal Senior Executive Service so that my husband could help, so I could help him and support him in pursuing his career. And he is still a federal employee here, and we moved, and when we were moving here, I was trying to decide, do I stay with Federal Highway? And they offered me chances to do that, and I was very tied to it. It's a wonderful organization. DOT has an incredibly important mission. Do I want to do that? And then I realized I don't want to be on the sidelines. When you're in LA, when you're a federal employee, you have an important role. but you're sitting on the sidelines. They say, yeah, thanks, so keep the money coming, and then we'll leave the local decision making to the people who know best. And I knew that enough from my public policy background and from living in LA for a couple of years before, and I knew I really wanted to be in the decision-making role and really where the action was happening. So in working for a regional railroad, definitely have done that. 24 board members from 5 counties, 5 county commissions and CEOs, 140 cities, state, congressional representative, Caltrans, CTC, CalSTA, High-Speed Rail, Low Sand Authority, Amtrak, FRA, FTA, Federal Highway every once in a while comes about, and many, many others. So what I like to say is if you are bored at Metrolink, there is something wrong with you. There is not a dull moment. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview, and to best explain our system, you really need to see it on a map, because it really tells how vast this system is, over 500 miles through 6 counties. So can I ask, has anyone ridden a Metrolink train before? All right, okay, we've got, well, it's a transportation group, so I guess I should. But that's impressive, because I'm still trying to explain to my father-in-law who lives in Orange County that Metrolink it's like the big choo-choo, the one that, like the locomotive, like with the big horn, and like that's the one that he said, there's one of those? Yeah, yes, there is. You can get it from Irvine. So it's a bit of a challenge here, but it is an unbelievably important system that is the framework and the foundation for all of the public transportation system that is bringing everyone in to the city centers, to places to work, and to places to live. On this, you can see, and if you'd like to go look at our maps online, you can see how all of the local connectors, how light rail, how the subways all connect, how intercity rail all connect to Metrolink, and how far we go. A few things, just a few stats for you to illustrate what Metrolink is and what we do. So over 500 miles, and we go through, as I said, 6 counties. We go down to San Diego, but we're governed only by a joint power authority for the 5 counties: San Bernardino, LA, Orange, Ventura, and Riverside. And so that makes up our governing authority. We have no dedicated source of funding other than the fares we collect and some maintenance of way and dispatching revenues that we get. So when you, so someone mentioned frustrated about financing. Yes, that's welcome to Metrolink. Our fares cover, and our revenues cover about 40% of our operating expenses every year, which is actually, so it seems like, okay, the 60% need to be subsidized by either the counties or the grants that we get and that we have to compete for. But if you look at in Southern California, we actually have the lowest subsidy of any of the carriers. We are the second largest transportation operator after Metro. If you look at our system by passenger mile, which is how far people are traveling, you see there are people who go from Orange County to Antelope Valley. On average, people are traveling on our system over 30 miles. There is not really an alternative for many of those people. Driving is just not an alternative. So the regional rail system, as I said, is really laying this foundation for all of the other transportation modes, first and last mile, or getting around the city, or getting around your neighborhood. But if you need to go a far distance, Metrolink is your source of, is your mode. Let's see, so a few other things. So 60% of our riders actually cross county lines. So people are going from one county to another. Where's all the growth happening? In Southern California? In LA, downtown? Out to the east, up to the north. That's where everything is growing because of affordable housing, After the recession changed the demographics of Southern California, where people could afford to live and where the jobs were. So having frequent, reliable service out to those far areas, out in those far counties, which is a long drive, is really, really critical. Get you another map here to give you an idea. The state recently put out a state rail plan. This is not, it didn't come up, sorry, it doesn't come up so great here, but I encourage you to take a look at the state rail plan if you're interested in rail transportation. It is a comprehensive, integrated plan that really shows a vision toward 2040. You know, high-speed rail is in there, so you know, whatever your thoughts are on high-speed rail, but there's a lot of other rail transportation in Northern and Southern California that the state is looking to invest in and make more efficient and effective for transportation in the region. And then we take that, it really aligned, we were working really closely with the city, I'm sorry, with the state in order to determine what is our next step. What's next for Metrolink? Well, one of the things that's next for Metrolink, as it is for all of us, the Olympics in 2028. And if you look at the challenges that we have today on a regular, average Monday in getting from one place to another, what happens when we bring in hundreds of thousands of people from around the world who will be coming here for the Olympics in 2028? We thought that we really needed to put together a visionary plan that is based on the state rail plan, and how can we invest in our system in regional rail in order to lay the foundation for all the other transportation investments that need to happen. Certainly toward 2040, but we have a medium-term goal there for the Olympics. So we have, this is a program, we are calling it SCORE. It's a Southern California Optimized Rail Expansion Program, and it's a $10 billion program over the next 10 years that we're looking to expand the frequency and reliability, mainly of the service. Over 60% of our system is single-tracked, which means that if there is, well, first off, it restricts the number of trains you can run every day if you have to arrange for a meet. That was one of the first terms that I had to say, oh, well, it was a missed meet, and that was train. I was like, why are the trains meeting? Oh, right, okay. So if it's a single track, you have to pull over to the side and wait for another train. So those of you who are interested in schedules, scheduling on a single track system where you also have Amtrak intercity trains running from San Diego all the way up to San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara now, where they are running on there, we have freight coming from the ports. Depends on what's happening with it I was trying to understand why we had so many delays in October and November. All of the freight traffic, delivering all the holiday goods. Freight trains don't schedule when they come and go. They just look at our schedules and then they wait for a window. And then it's between dispatchers to figure out who gets to go first. So nothing more frustrating when you're sitting on a single track and you're late for work already and you watch a freight train go by. So we really have to invest in the system in order to make to add any capacity, to add more trains, to make it more reliable. If an incident happens and you're on a single track area where you can't get off the train, it's pretty desolate up there in that North County. You don't want to get off the train up there, and there's no road nearby where the train runs through. So if something happens, there's an incident, you're stuck there. I mean, minimum 2 hours is how long it will take us to clear that and get a train moving and get you to a place where you can get off a bus and get off the train and onto a bus. So this program is really critical for us. We're pursuing a number of opportunities. The first is a state grant, TIRCP, Transit Intercity Rail Program, and looking for some state investment then that will leverage to look for some federal grants and then leverage some local county commission investment as well. So it's really cobbling it all together, and financing is definitely a challenge, but it is a critical one for us to move forward. So I lay out some of these maps and some of the vision for the next 10 to 20 to 30 years to lay out for you what the opportunities are. If you're interested in transportation, especially rail, there are so many opportunities. It's hard to, it's not worth listing out. There aren't going to be any more freeways built in Southern California. We can't even widen the 710, where people want the trucks off the road, right? And if we can't, that is not happening. So all of the different areas that you all mentioned that you're interested in are all completely directly relevant to what is happening in rail in the next, tomorrow to the next, to 2040. Just to give you a few examples here of why, of the types of things that you could be involved in. So engineering, of course. First, we need engineers and we need planners in order to help plan and then build the infrastructure. That is so critical. And in a place as complicated as Los Angeles and Southern California, we need some really strong, thoughtful, innovative planning in order to make this whole thing work. You can't just add stuff and then tell people go take it and hope they'll get from where they are to where they need to go. Project management. That's another area, is overseeing all of these projects. Oversight. Everyone wants to know, are you on schedule? Are you on budget? That is a key area that with all of these projects going on, that there is a real huge opportunity for people to get into. Procurement. Right now, you can see, I see it directly every day. Los Angeles passes Measure M. They're building all these projects. They promptly steal everyone from my contracts department. So there's a huge need for procurement officials, for contract administrators. So that's another area that is going to see tremendous growth as these projects take shape. Operations. And then once you build it, somebody has to operate it. It's scheduling, it's mapping, it's figuring out the equipment. Then that quickly gets you into technology and all of the signaling technology or the equipment that you're actually, the fleet that you need to operate. Some huge opportunities there as well. So as I look at these plans, and I look at everyone in this room, I say, here's a real opportunity for, I think, to match up what you're interested in and what you're studying and what this region needs and where we are headed. So I sort of leave you with that. I will, one last story. I was shortly after I got here, there was a big meeting with the Deputy Secretary of US DOT, who was my former boss, Victor Mendez from Federal Highway Administration. He was coming out to do a tour for the administration, and it was a big gathering with high-speed rail, ourselves, Metro, LoSan, Amtrak, and we were all coming out. And they put this rail plan was kind of in the earlier stages, and we were focused on Southern California. But when I saw all those people together and I looked at the maps and I saw everything, all the possibility, I came home and I said to my husband, rail, that's it, the future is rail. And he was like, what did they give you in that water? What did you drink while you were there? I said, no, this is it. And really that was a great moment for me to help put it all together. And so early on when I first got here, and has been just, inspirational to try to work toward a vision like this, that we can really put together what we know and new ideas that are out there and try to achieve a vision like this.